Welcome and Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Amen.
Thank you, and we will go into our share. And you can see where we are. So we are talking here about the plague. It's not exactly clear what Arov refers to. There are different opinions as to how that gets explained. Essentially, as I said, the word Arov means a blend of some kind. So, for example, the word Erev, which means evening, has to do with the blending of the sunlight and the darkness. That's why, and there's other words. Basically, anytime we come across this particular root, here it is, it's right there. We're talking about a mixture of different things. And according to Rashi, it's a mixture of different vicious kinds of animals, from say lions and tigers and bears and scorpions and snakes, things like that, basically. And that's how he understands that, and I'm sure that there's a tradition regarding that he draws from. So let's see, this is what Moses is telling Pharaoh. Although this, let me just make sure. Let me go back a little bit and double check here. Yeah, right. So this is, he's saying, God is telling Moses to say to Pharaoh, Ko Amar Hashem, thus saith the Lord, right? And then it goes on, and these are all parts of the instruction that God is giving Moses. I just wanted to be sure to catch the context. So this is God speaking and saying, I shall place. Padut, pada is a word that means to deliver, to save, things like that. Bein ami, I will create a deliverance between my people and uvein amecha, and your people, and between your people. Lamachar yeh ha'ot hazeh. Tomorrow this sign will come about. So again, let me double check and make sure we have, there we go. Vasamti padut. So the word padut is a little bit stranger, but at any rate, he says, what's the nature of this deliverance? Sheyavdil bein ami uvein amcha. That he would make a distinction between my people, God's people, uvein amcha, and between your people. So, going on. Vayas Hashem Cain. So we don't actually read about Moses going and speaking to Pharaoh. We have to just understand that. At any rate, it goes on to say, Vayas Hashem Cain, the Lord did thus. Vayavo Arov Kaved, and this Arov, a heavy Arov, came upon them. Beta Paro, into the house of Pharaoh, Uveit Avadav, and to the house of his servants, Uvachol Eretz Mitzrayim, and throughout the land of Egypt, Tishachet ha'aretz mipnei ha'arov. The land was destroyed on account of this arov, this mixture of vicious animals. Tishachet ha'aretz, an interesting form of the verb that Rashi is pouncing on. So it says, Nishchata ha'aretz. The land was, this is a more of a future sense, and this is a past sense, or present even, but more, it's more of a perfect sense, to speak more grammatically. In other words, the earth, the land was destroyed. And this is the Aramaic here, Itchabalat Ara. So the land was destroyed. And let me find it. Here it is. It chabalat ara min kodam arova. The land was destroyed on account of this arov. Going on. Verse 21. Vayikra Pharaoh el Moshe ula Aaron. Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron. Vayomer, and he said, Lechu, go, zivchu lelohechem ba'aretz. Go and make sacrifices to your God in the land. So, here, zivchu lelohechem ba'aretz, offer up, make your offerings to your God in the land, bimkomchem, in your place, velo telchu bamidbar. Do not go, you should not go into the wilderness. So he's willing to compromise, right? Yes, you can go ahead and serve your God, worship your God. It's just that you can't leave. You can't leave. You have to stay. So let's see what happens here. Vayomer Moshe, but Moses said, Lo nachon la'asot kain. It isn't proper to behave in this way, to do this. Ki to'avat Mitzrayim, because the detestable thing of Egypt, Nizbach Lashem Elokeinu, we will be offering up or sacrificing to the Lord our God. So this word to'eva, it's disgusting, I think is a good way to translate this word, is something disgusting. So the disgusting thing of Egypt, we're going to need to explain. Rashi's going to do that. Hein nizbach et to'avat Mitzrayim. Indeed, if we offer up this disgusting thing of the Egyptians or of Egypt, la'enehem, right before them, in other words, in front of their eyes, v'lo yiskalunu, will they not stone us? So there's some explaining to do here, but we will clarify that in a moment. So first of all, to'avat Mitzrayim, this disgusting thing of Egypt, and it's referring to Yirat Mitzrayim, the God of the Egyptians. In other words, the idea of it being an idol, and that idol worship is considered something so abhorrent and disgusting. That's why they don't talk about the gods of Egypt, they don't use that term. And Yirah means to fear, in other words, that which the Egyptians fear, meaning their God. And he goes and gives other examples, Rashi, right? Such as Melachim Bet Kaf Gimel, Kings, second book of Kings, chapter 23, Ule Milkom to Avat Bnei Ammon. This is referring to the perversion of the Israelites in terms of turning away from worshiping God and worshiping idols, and to milkom, and he uses that word. Here we go, to'avat, the disgusting thing of the children of Ammon. And it just simply means the idol of the Ammon. The Etzel Yisrael kore'atam to'eva. And regarding when it's being referred to with the Jewish people, offer up, how they worship such creatures or such idols, such gods are referred to, there's a to'eva, a disgusting thing. So, the od yesh lomar, and one could also add the lashon acher in a different sense, to avat Mitzrayim, the disgusting thing of the Egyptians, or of Egypt, davar sanui hu leMitzrayim, that is to say that what we do as Israelites will be considered disgusting and abhorrent to the Egyptians. Zvicha she'anu zufchim, in other words, the offering of, because they're offering up sheep and they're offering up lambs, and according to the tradition, the Egyptians worshipped the lamb and the sheep. So that's, in other words, shaharei yiratam anu zofchim, because the thing that they worship, we are sacrificing. So understand that that's something the Egyptians can't tolerate. We can either look at it in the one sense, and also Rashi's giving us a different sense in the way that we could say the disgusting thing is that what the Egyptians see us doing is something disgusting. V'lo yiskalunu, even though there's no interrogative hey there, it is nevertheless a question. In other words, he's using it, the idea is as a surprise, in other words, as a question. He's saying, won't they stone us? It's not declarative. So let's go on. All right, let's go on. Let's see here. Okay. Finding the place here. There we go. Derech shloshet yamim neilech bamidbar. We will travel a path of 3 days in the wilderness. Lezavachnu l'Hashem Elokeinu, and then we will make sacrifices. We'll offer up to the Lord our God, kasher yomar elenu, as He will tell us. We'll be able to follow His commandments there. Let's make sure. Okay, going on. Vayomer Paro, and Pharaoh said, Hanochi ashalach etchem, I will send you, uzvachtem l'Hashem Elochem b'midbar. In other words, he's willing to further compromise. I will send you, and you will offer up sacrifices to the Lord your God in the wilderness. Rak harchek lo tarchiku lalechet. However, you shall not go away too far. You shouldn't go far away. Ha'atiru ba'adi, pray for me. Which is interesting, right, that he says those kinds of words. So we can see that this particular plague has had a very marked effect on him. Going on. Vayomer Moshe, and Moses said, Hine anochi yotzei me'imach. He says, behold, indeed, I will go out from before you, v'hatarti el Hashem, and I will pray to God, the sar ha'arov mi paro, so that the arov disappears, is removed from Pharaoh and from his servants, ume'amo machar, that and from his people tomorrow. So you'll get relief tomorrow. Rak al Yosef Paro hatel, but Pharaoh should not continue to act deceitfully, the vilti shalach et ha'am, not to send forth this people, izvach Hashem, in order to make offerings to God. So sorry, it's jumping around here. So continuing, let's see where we are. Okay, so this word hatel, kamo la hatel. So he says that the syntax is a little bit unusual here, but it means to act deceitfully. So act deceitfully, but it really means he shouldn't act in a way to be deceptive. Going on. Vayetze Moshe. Okay, so we said that, and he went out and he prayed to God. So let's find that place. Going on. Vayeter al Hashem, and he prayed to God. I think I just want to make sure that I've got the place. Yes. Okay. Right. Okay. So vayater. So lehitpalel generally is the word that's used to mean to pray, but this word ater, which actually it refers to a pitchfork, by the way, and the reason is that you use a pitchfork to turn over the wheat stalks and things like that. And so likewise, this word is used sometimes in the sense of using prayer to change something that's happened. At any rate, he says, Rashi understands, nit ametz betfilah. In other words, he would pray very, very, in a very hard kind of way, very concentrated, very thoughtful, very, as I said, in a very concentrated way. V'chein imba lomar vaya'atir, okay, and if in fact he had come to say, this verse had come to say, vaya'atir, right, and not vaya'ater. Ya'atir is a straightforward, imperfect sense, right? Haya yachol lomar, so he's saying, let me make sure, okay, v'chein imba lomar vaya'atir, haya yachol lomar, he would have been able to say, umashma, and imply va'Eyra tefillah, that he would have a lot of prayer. In other words, the idea here of using many prayers. Achshav keshehu omer belashon vayif'al, but now because he's using a passive kind of sense, mashma vayarbe lehitpalel, it means that his actual prayer itself, not that he'd have a lot of prayers, but that he would pray in this very intense kind of way. That's the implication of the way it's being said. So saying a lot of prayers as opposed to praying intensely. Let's find it. Vayas Hashem kidvar Moshe, and the Lord performed just as Moses had said. Vayasar he'arov, he removed the arov mi paro, from Pharaoh, me'avadav, from his servants, u'me'amo, and from his people. Lo nish'ar echad, not one remained. Now remember, interestingly, in comparing this to the frogs, okay, remember we read that they were actually in the Torah, that they were left in piles, and that in fact they caused the land to stink, okay? But here it says not a single one remained. So let's take a look at what this is. The point here. Okay. Vayisar ha'arov, right? He removed the arov. V'lo metu kamoshe metu hatzvardaim, but they did not die the way the frogs died. She'im metu, because had they died, had they left their carcasses there, hayalahem hana'ah ba'orot, the Egyptians would have been able to gain a benefit through the skins of these various animals. And so when it says they were removed, they moved on elsewhere. He did not see them. They didn't die. They simply moved on elsewhere. Okay. Going on. One more verse here. Vayachbed paro et libo. Pharaoh hardened his heart. Gam b'pam hazot. This time as well. V'lo shilach et ha'am. And so he did not send the people. He didn't set them free. He didn't send them out. Let's take a look quickly. Right. Gam b'pam hazot. This time as well. This time too. Af al pi she'amar anochi ashalach atchem. Even though he actually explicitly said that he would send them out. Lo kayam havtachto. He did not keep his promise. Give me a moment, and I need to stop the share for a second and pause the recording. Okay, let's do this. And I'm going to go back to the share. Okay. Life goes on. Okay. All right. Going on here. Vayomer Hashem el Moshe, the Lord said to Moses, Bo el Paro, come to Pharaoh, v'dibarta elav, and speak to him. Ko amar Hashem, thus said the Lord, Elohei Ivrim, the God of the Hebrews, Shalach et ami v'ya'avduni, send the people v'ya'avduni, so that they may worship me. So again, just to emphasize how many times we've come across this particular phrase, and I love to say that people hear what they want to hear, and we always hear, that Moses said to Pharaoh, "Let my people go," but they leave out the last part, that they may worship me. So, okay, going on. Let's make sure we don't have any Rashis here. Right. Ki im ma'ein ata l'shalech, because if you refuse to let them go, to release them, v'odcha machazik bam, and you remain holding fast to them, you continue to hold fast to them. And here we do have Rashi's, machazik bam, if you hold on to them, ochez bam, in other words, here it says machazik, ochez is another word which means to grasp them. Kamo vechazika bim vushav. There's the example given in Deuteronomy chapter 25, where it talks about the wife of a man who's being attacked, who's trying to protect her husband, and she is doing that by holding on to the husband's enemies, mevushav. It's a word that refers to his genitals, right? Mevushav, Rosh. In other words, we talk about Adam and Eve not having a sense of their nakedness, right? They were not ashamed. They were nude. They weren't ashamed, because eating from the tree of knowledge of good and evil is a reference to becoming sexually aware. So, going on. Here we are. Hine yad Hashem hoya b'miknecha asher basadeh. Behold, literally it means the hand of the Lord will be in your cattle, which is in the field. Basusim, amongst the horses, uvachamorim, the donkeys, bagmalim, the camels, babakar, cattle, uvatzon, and sheep. Dever kaved me'od. What is this hand of God, this power of God being demonstrated? That is this dever, this pestilence, heavy, this very heavy death. So basically, pestilence has to do with a fatal epidemic disease. Again, let's check it out. Hine yad Hashem hoya, lashon hoveh. So essentially, it means it's present tense, right? Kichen yomar b'lashon nekeva, because that's the way you say it in the female gender. Al she'avar haita, if it's about something that was, and you're referring to something in the female gender, haita. You use the term haita. Va'al ha'etid tiyeh. And if you're talking about the future in the feminine, you say tiyeh. Va'al ha'omed, and one that is literally it means one that is standing, meaning one in the present tense, hoya. That would be the way in which you'd punctuate the verb in the present tense. Kamo, just like oseh, this is a more common sense, right? To do, or osa, rotsa, ro'ah. Those would all be feminine forms of to do, to desire, or to want, or ro'ah, I believe, has to do with an ayin. It would have to be to shepherd, sheep, something like that. And I think we're going to stop right here, and we will continue, God willing, with the next verse. So we're into the next plague already. Okay. Very good. I'm going to stop the share. Okay. All right. We will stop right here, and let me stop the recording.